Okay,
12?
roll camera.
Yeah. 12 Bravo, take 2, marker.
Action.
And action.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's Friday, March the 19th, 2021. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. This is episode 153 of McRae Live. It's 12:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And why not do a all Q&A today? Let's do that. Hey, shout out to everybody out there who has watched the Zack Snyder's Justice League on HBO Max. I can see it on social media. I can see everybody is losing their minds. Everybody is excited. Everybody's like, it's great. I love to see it. And I mean that like in an affectionate way. I do. I obviously, you know, as it's no secret, I'm not a big superhero guy. Again, when I say that, I don't mean I don't like superheroes. I'm just not as emotionally invested. I've only seen 3 Marvel films. I think I've only seen 2 DC films, 2 of the DCEU. I've seen more than that over the years. But so I'm just not invested like the vast majority of the pop culture fandom is. So I couldn't care less about the film. However, having said that, what I admire and what puts a smile on my face is not the movie itself, because again, I have no emotional attachment to it. I have no dog in the fight. I couldn't care less whether it was good or not. I'm probably will never see it. I mean, and if I do see it, it'll probably, I don't know when. Now here in Canada, of course, HBO Max is only in the US. It's not here in Canada. In Canada, we have a streaming service called Crave. It's only here in Canada. It's sort of it's owned by Bell Media. It would be the equivalent of HBO Max in the States. On Crave, you can get like HBO and all that kind of stuff. And Crave, which I don't have, is carrying the Snyder Cut. And so if you're here in Canada, that's where you would have to see it. You'd have to order Crave. I think they have a deal on now or whatever. And I don't have Crave, so obviously I'm not watching the Snyder Cut. And I'm not a movie reviewer, so there's no expectation that I'm going to. Having said that, what puts a big smile on my face, and I sincerely mean this, is seeing people, fans, genuinely thrilled and excited. It's always, that kind of thing always puts a smile on my face because I can relate it. I can live vicariously through it and think about something that would be like that for me. Do you know what I mean? You know, like for me, and I know I'm in the minority here when I say, well, at least it appears I am because there's a lot of, you know, but loved The Force Awakens. I thought The Force Awakens was not a perfect movie. I didn't think it was like the Shawshank Redemption or something. But I mean, for me, as a 40-year-old man, for me, it was what Star Wars needed to be at that time, to get it back on track. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I thought it was great. Had a great time. Saw it 3 times in the theater. There's been other examples of that throughout my life. So I genuinely love seeing people get excited. Even though I don't care about the Snyder Cut, it makes me happy that you do. And it makes me happy to see you going, oh my God, this is so much better, and then you can see this, and then the fucking thing down, and then it was like this, like, that makes me excited. It does. It puts a smile on my face because I'm like, I know what that's like. I know how you're feeling. Like, I remember when I was watching the teaser trailer for The Force Awakens, which came out in April of 2015, I think. Not the first trailer that was released at Thanksgiving, well, for you guys in the States, Thanksgiving, end of November 2014. The Chewie We're Home teaser trailer, right? I got choked up watching it because it was like this wave of nostalgia that came over. It's like, oh my God, there he is. It's awesome. Because it's no secret, for me, I'm somebody that's always wanted to see what happened next. I couldn't have cared less about the prequels. Even when it was announced in the 90s that Lucas was doing that, I was like the only one of my friends going, I don't give a shit. I don't want to see that. I want to know what happened next. Why? Because we're already emotionally attached to those characters, Han and Luke and Leia and Chewie. And those are already well-developed characters. I'm already emotionally attached to them. I want to revisit them again. Of course, it took another, from that point, the prequel, another 20 years or so before we could do that in 2015. So when Chewie, we're home, it was like, oh my God. It was great. You know what I mean? So I'm happy for you guys. For those of you that are really thrilled with the Snyder Cut and are having a good time, I am genuinely thrilled for you guys. It makes me happy. It makes me happy. And I think it's great. All Q&A Friday today. What are you guys saying? Get those super chats in, get those non-super chats in, tip your waitress on the way out, whatever you guys need to do. Let me put on my glasses here so I can see you guys a bit better. And, oh, there's that little ringing thing again. It wasn't there earlier. Now it's there again. I got to figure something out. There's a connection issue going on here. I've had it before in the past. I figured it out. I solved it. It was several months back, but I can hear it. When I speak, there's a little bit of and I figured it out before, and I just got to figure it out again. It's some sort of connection. I just got to figure that out. It's going to be a pain in the ass. Blah, 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 test. Yeah, it's something to do with that back there. As you can imagine, in a studio like mine, I got a lot of shit. So, blah, 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 blah. That's a little better. It had something to do with that before too. So anyway, I'll figure it out. If it comes and goes throughout the show, you might hear a little bit of a ringing, a little like tinny kind of stuff. Anyway, Cobra Dojo sends in a £5 super chat. Thank you, Cobra. Says, hi, Dave. How could they have made a Back to the Future 4 justifying everything they showed us, what 2015 would be, most of which they obviously got wrong? Well, I mean, I see your point, but at the end of the day, I don't think that's necessarily, it's a fictional world to begin with. I mean, how could they do a Back to the Future 2 when there's no such thing as time travel, period. So, the whole movie is a fantasy, right? It's not a biopic. It's not a prediction movie. It's just, everybody and their uncle years ago thought that we would have flying cars in the future. I don't know if they literally thought we would have flying cars in the future. That's a recipe for disaster. But certainly there's that, not archetype, that's not the right word, but there's that stereotype. When look at futuristic prediction. We're going to have flying cars. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just a big thing. So they took that stereotype and put it into the movie. And of course, there's other things in there too that they did. But it's fiction. You know, they can live within the Back to the Future universe, they can have flying cars. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I would do it. I would say that, you know, if they were to do a Back to the Future 4 that takes place in, 2030 or something like that, well, then and I think Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale would be smart enough to do this, you buy into the universe that you've set. So 2030 would be the 2030 in relation to their universe, right? So what would be the natural progression from 2015 to 2030 or 2015 to 2025, wherever Back to the Future 4 takes place? Of course, it would have to take place. Well, if Michael J. Fox, because he actually lives in 85, so in 2015. So yeah, it would be probably, if you were to do a Back to the Future 4 now in real time, it would probably be set in present day, actually, because in 85 to 2015, that's 30 years. In 2015, Michael J. Fox now in real life is pretty much the age he was playing in the 1989 sequel, Back to the Future 2. So a Back to the Future 4, you would either want to set it close to present day, right? 2021, something like that. Or set it a bit further in the future so you can distance yourself from 2015. But then you would probably have to put some makeup on Michael J. Fox because he would be a little older than he is now. Anyway, they'd figure all that out, right? But you play within that world, you know? I mean, it wasn't I mean, it's funny to think, not funny, but it's cool to think that we've passed the threshold of 2015, you know, and we can look at Back to the Future and go, oh, well, they got that wrong. But it was whimsical anyway. I never took it as like they were making bold predictions that this is what it is going to be like. It was just, it's fantasy. It's fun, you know? So, yeah, I think if they were to make a Back to the Future 4, I don't think that matters. Because it's not real. I mean, it is, but it's not, if you know what I mean, right? There's always been a whimsical, cartoony, not cartoon, but cartoon-ish, self-aware-ish vibe to Back to the Future anyway. So you just play in that world. You know, you just go, okay, we got flying cars. All right. Well, that's what we got. You know what I mean? All right, we got this, we got that. That's what we got. And I think that would be I think it would be a disservice and weird to all of a sudden set a Back to the Future movie in real world 2024, let's say, or 2021 even, and play it straight. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, no, we got to play it straight. It's weird. It'd be weird. The continuity would be off. You can't do that. So that's my answer to that. I don't think it matters. You play within the universe you've created and you've set. But, you know, that's me. Charles Phillips says, hey, Dave, what movie are you most looking forward to? You mean this year? I have no idea. I don't even know what's coming out this year. Besides, Halloween Kills hasn't moved yet, I don't think, because I haven't heard anything. And I got a couple of sources that would have told me that. I mean, obviously, sure, Halloween Kills, but I'm looking forward to Ghostbusters Afterlife. You know, I can't wait to see that. I'm actually looking forward to A Quiet Place 2 because I didn't really like A Quiet Place 1. And I know that goes against the popular opinion, but I've said it before. I'll say it again. I thought A Quiet Place, loved the premise. I just had trouble as the movie went along believing in the decisions the characters were making. I thought the characters made incompetent decisions, including getting pregnant. It's fucking stupid. And I didn't buy it. I didn't believe that you would make that incompetent decision to do that. Don't buy it. Accident on purpose, doesn't matter. Accident makes it even worse, you know? And there were other decisions. It felt like the writers had the characters making decisions you wouldn't make in a real situation like that, just to create suspense or to create, situations for the characters to be in this. And I just didn't buy it. I didn't hate the movie, but I didn't like it the way a lot of people thought it was the most incredible movie of the year. I'm like, okay, no. But I'm really looking forward to A Quiet Place 2 because I still love the premise. And now that the cat's out of the bag, you know what I mean? And things are probably, it's probably going to be a little more sensational. I'm like, okay, well, what are they going to do? But I tell you, if these characters continue to make incompetent decisions that you just would not make in a situation like that, it's going to take me out of the movie again. There were many decisions like that. I've only seen the movie once, A Quiet Place. I'd have to go back and watch it again. But I remember as I was watching, I'm like, why are you doing that? You wouldn't do that. A character wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that in that situation. Like things like leaving your, however old the kid was, 4 or 5, at the back of the pack as you're walking through that apocalyptic environment. You wouldn't do that. I didn't believe a mother would do that. A parent would do that. A father. I don't believe it. So, it was difficult. There was just decisions like that throughout that movie that I had trouble believing. But I know a lot of people can suspend their disbelief and don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff and just think it's amazing. That's great. That's all the power to you. But I am looking forward to A Quiet Place too. Top Gun Maverick. I got to watch Top Gun again, though. I haven't seen that in years. But that'll be a good one to see. I'm really looking forward to The Woman in the Window, which is coming to Netflix with Amy Adams. I'm a big Hitchcock fan. And of course, it looks like kind of like a modern, kind of, but not really, but kind of like a modern retelling of Rear Window, sort of. That was supposed to be in theaters last year, but that's coming to Netflix in May, in and around my birthday, I think, somewhere around there. So I'm looking forward to The Woman in the Window. Really want to see that one. It looks like a good sort of suspense thriller. And yeah, there's just a few of the movies that I can think of off the top of my head. There's others too. I'd have to look at the list. I'd have to look at the list, but those are a few anyway. Those are a few. Let's see. I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Just the ones that were no, there was 2. Cody Buchanan. Thank you, Cody. Says, how come writers don't get the same credit as directors? How come writers don't get the same credit as directors? Do you mean like in pop culture, right? Like you mean in just like, within fandom and what? Well, I mean, it's a very simple reason. And this is the reason. Out of sight, out of mind. And, when it gets to the directing stage of a movie, you can write it's not as black and white as I'm making it, but I'm trying to give you the Cliff Notes version. So the reason, and you can go down the chain. Why don't directors get the same recognition as actors? You know what I mean? And it's largely because they're not the pretty face that you see. They're not a director's job on set. He or she is the leader of the set. It is their job to work with the actors to get the best performances they possibly can out of their actors, to spearhead, the production in terms of on set. Of course, a producer can be there too. But to simplify this, it's writers do get credit. They do get credit, but it's kind of like when you watch the Academy Awards. You don't care, maybe you do, but the vast majority of people, when you read who's been nominated, what do you care about? Best picture, best director, best actor, best actress, best supporting actor, best supporting actress. Those are your top 6. That's what everybody generally cares about. And then you'll have best cinematography, best sound design, best score, but and those are lower on the list of what you care about. Do you give a fuck about best sound mixing? No, you don't. You don't. And yet it's so important because these are it's like all those hundreds of names. Do you stay to watch the credits at the end of a movie? No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't stay to watch the credits. The credits are, maybe you do because there's an end credit scene. Okay. But back in the day when there was no end credit scene, okay, when that shit didn't exist, As soon as the credits roll, everybody gets up and leaves the theater. You don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck about all those names going up. Why? Why? And why should you? Why should you? And at the end of the day, why should you? If it's done seamlessly, if it's done really, really well, you shouldn't care about those names. They're just blended in, right? It's magic, right? You shouldn't see. Those are the seams. Those names, those roles are the seams. You know, they are the crevices and the cracks and the seams that put things together. And if it's done really, really, really well, you shouldn't notice those seams, right? Because everything is so well put together, you don't see the seams. Sure, if you look closely enough, you might be able to see the seams. You know, I'm using an analogy here. But if it's put together really well, you shouldn't notice the seams. But if it wasn't for those hundreds of names scrolling the screen, that movie wouldn't exist. Fuck the actors. That movie wouldn't exist. Not that the actors aren't important. They are. So it's just a matter of writers generally don't have the front and center recognition. You know, writers are important. Absolutely. They're the writer. They are writing everything. Well, mostly. Things can change, of course. Things can adapt and mold and shape and change. But generally, they are the foundation for what you're seeing on screen. They're vitally important, but they're not the pretty face. They're generally not interviewed at press junkets. They're generally not doing the press tours. They're generally not on the late night talk shows because, you know, do you care? No, it's the stars. It's the stars. It's always been that way. It's always been that way since the golden age of Hollywood, and it will continue to be that way because that's what sells. That's what sells. And, you know, that's why. I mean, in a roundabout Cliff Notesy way, surface level way, that's essentially why. It's just that nobody cares because they're not, it's the way, it's the structure of how the industry is designed and what sells. You know what I mean? And you know, and a lot of writers are very happy that way. I mean, yeah, there's the odd writer that maybe would like more recognition than they deserve. And if you're a huge writer, like, I mean, if you write, like, you know, somebody like Stephen King, who made his living writing books, you know, that are adapted into films. Well, you didn't make your name as a screenwriter. You made your name as a literary writer, like, you know, of fiction and writing horror books. So that's where you made your name. So everybody knows the name Stephen King. But if Stephen King had just written a bunch of horror films and never became the sensational novelist he was and is, Stephen King might not be a household name today. You know what I mean? It's just the way it's designed. It's the way that industry is designed and what people gravitate towards of importance, what they're interested in, what they care about, you know, and most people don't care about sound mixing and sound editing. They don't care. They just don't care because it hasn't been designed to make you care. The industry isn't designed to have you care. It's not glitzy. It's not glamorous. It's tedious, monotonous, boring work. It really is. I can tell you right now, designing sound is tedious, monotonous, boring work for the average person. It's not glitzy. It's not glamorous. It's just monotonous. It is. It's like editing. You know, it's not glamorous. It's tough and tedious, monotonous work. So it's not going to sell to the general audience as something exciting. Same with writing. Writing is monotonous, tedious, difficult work. Directors get more credit because at the end of the day, you can have great writing, but it can be destroyed by a director that doesn't know what they're doing. And you can have so-so writing that can be saved by a director that knows exactly what they're doing. So a director can often, but then again, a director too has to pass the threshold, pass that bar into the pop culture consciousness to become a household name. Most directors you have never heard of. Most directors you will never have heard of. Most directors will never become a household name. Most, you know, when you look at the pantheon, the ether of filmmakers and directors that direct movies, even movies that are big movies or movies that you really like, most of these directors don't end up becoming household names like a Steven Spielberg, you know what I mean? Or a George Lucas. I mean, it takes a monumental, epic, cultural changing, shift in something that they've done, that it can become that way, and I'm talking about in general. Okay. Now I could say a name like Jon Favreau, and you know who I'm talking about, right? And he's a guy that would be definitely well known within a certain circle, right? But if I say the name Jon Favreau to, I don't know, the average person on the street or my girlfriend or, whoever, they wouldn't know who the fuck I'm talking about. Jon Favreau is not Steven Spielberg. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of that name, right? So there's different levels and things like that, right? There's a lot of people that would know who he is because people are attached to, certain fandom and things like that. But then there are certain names that are saying like Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? There are certain names like Steven Spielberg or, even Martin Scorsese or, there's just certain names that epic, Anyway, I'm rambling as usual, but that's primarily why. It's just not, it is what it is, unfortunately. But writers are incredibly important. Of course, they are. We all know that. Let's see here. Good Real Hunting sends in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Good Real Hunting. Says, which celebrity is your favorite to meet and who else do you want to meet? Also, any opportunity for It's Me, Billy Blu-ray buying? Well, the latter part of your question there, we're not sure yet. I'm going to be talking with Bruce, hopefully tomorrow, about that. We have had a few interested parties inquiring about that. So we have to talk about that, and we got to figure out whether or not we want to launch another campaign or whether or not maybe we just want to take direct orders. Maybe that might be easier. We're not quite sure how we're going to structure that yet. We are aware that there are some other people that would like to get their hands on one, of course. But as you can imagine, there's just so much, we're doing, and first things first, we got to make sure that the trailer and the film and everything looks great. That first things first, right? But certainly we are aware of that, and that's something that I'll be talking about. I'll be talking about it with Bruce tomorrow when and if he comes up. He's supposed to be coming up tomorrow, but we'll see, right? We're always busy trying to juggle shit around and shit. So we'll see. Now the first part of your question, which celebrity is your favorite to have met? I don't know if I really have a favorite. I haven't, it's not like I've met a ton. I have met, in my job, obviously, as a voice actor, I've met many voice actors, and I've met, I don't think I have a favorite. I mean, it was cool to meet some of the Halloween alum at the Halloween convention. That's cool. I think my favorite to have met at the Halloween convention is, and I've said this before, is probably Dean Cundy. And the reason why, and it's no disrespect to anybody else at the convention, all right? But the vast majority of people that are at the convention who are Halloween alum are Halloween legends, right? But Dean Cundy is a film legend. His filmography and his clout and his prowess exceeds Halloween. He did the Back to the Future trilogy. He shot Jurassic Park. He did Apollo 13 and, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I can only imagine what that must have been like to shoot, so yes, we know him for Halloween and Halloween 2 and, Escape from New York and, but he did Psycho 2 as well. He did The Fog, and sure, he's got that early on horror stuff, but he's done at least, I don't know if I'd include Apollo 13, but certainly Back to the Future. We'll include the trilogy in there, even though the first one is really the legendary film. But we'll include, those three films. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, legendary film, 100%. That kind of shit had never been done before. Jurassic Park. Come on, changed filmmaking forever. So it was really cool to meet him. No disrespect to anybody else there, but their claim to fame is in the Halloween realm. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing, right? But Dean Cundy was just fortunate enough to have gone on and done so many other things amazing film, like films that have embedded itself into the pop culture, arguably way more than Halloween has. So it was really cool to see that. And Halloween has too. So you think of that. He's got Halloween under his belt. He's got Back to the Future under his belt. He's got Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park. I mean, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, is he as legendary as some other DPs? Well, no, of course not. But he's, it's nothing to sneeze at, man. Dean Cundey is a legend. And so that was really cool to meet him. When it comes to voiceover, I met a lot of voice actors. But I think one of the coolest things for me is being on the red carpet at the Voice Arts Awards. And I've told this before too, but it is a surreal thing. You know, you're there, you're at Warner Brothers Studios, the Warner Brothers Studios, and you're there for the Voice Arts Awards, but you're not just there to attend, you're there because you're nominated. And it's an amazing experience. And I remember standing on the red carpet with my girlfriend, and we're getting our photos taken. And ahead of us, I always get the years mixed up because I've been a few times now. I think this is 2018. But anyway, I remember, it was just a moment I remember. Like, sometimes there's things that happen in your life and you're like, I'm going to remember this. I'm for whatever, like, obviously you're going to remember this, but I mean, just whatever was going on, this moment in a vacuum, I'm always going to remember. And this was one of those things where I remember in front of me was Rosario Dawson. And it was like, oh, that's Rosario Dawson. Right. And they're like, because we're going along the line. Right. And then behind us was Sigourney Weaver. And I remember, like, we are situated between Rosario Dawson and Sigourney Weaver. And it was like, what's going on here? It's like, what's going on here? There's something like, did I just walk on here? No, I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to be there. I'm nominated. I'm there. I'm nominated. So that was a cool experience. That was something that I will never forget. It was very surreal. It's like, it doesn't feel like, what are we, it's like you got Sigourney Weaver, Rosario Dawson, Dave McRae in the middle. It just seems kind of, you know what I mean? But I'm deserving to be there as much as everybody. So that was cool. I didn't have a chance to meet them formally, because when you're on a red carpet, especially at an award show like that, it's very, and any actor who's ever been to an award show or done a red carpet can tell you that it's very, you don't have time to really think. They have ushers that are ushering you onto the red carpet. They have ushers that are ushering you off the red carpet, because I can only imagine that some actors are quite vain and want to take their time and stand there maybe a little longer and get their photo taken. And it's like, okay, come on, we got other people that are coming through, And the Voice Arts Awards red carpet, again, it's not like the Oscar red carpet or like a Star Wars premiere where the red carpet's like a football field long, where you have that time and things like that. This red carpet's much shorter, so you kind of have to keep the train moving, right? So incredible experience. So and I remember when we got to the end of the red carpet, Mickey Yablans and his daughter Emma, who I treated to the Voice Arts Awards that year, were waiting for us at the end. And I remember we got to the end and we were chatting and we were talking, and then Sigourney Weaver, who was behind us, was exiting, and she was wearing this beautiful green dress. She looked incredible. And she walked by, and I think her dress like brushed along like our shoulder or something. And it was like, oh my God, Sigourney Weaver's dress. It was great though. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And it was really cool. She was receiving an award that night. And so it was really cool. And so that was fun. And then of course to chat with Mickey and to, it was just a really fun night. It was a really, really fun night. And so I would say that my favorite, especially at that convention, would have been Dean Cundey for sure. And then, voice actors, Bob Bergen, the voice of Porky Pig, of course, was great to chat with. And we had a good conversation, and I mean, like, there's been a lot of people, but I don't get lost. I'm somebody that doesn't, it's not that I'm not aware of it. Like I just told you a story, how it's like, holy shit, like here I am here, but I'm very quick. I'm very good at being like, responding to the moment at hand. So I'm not somebody that gets giddy. I'm not somebody that gets starstruck. I'm not somebody that gets, and I don't say that to like, just like, oh, I'm so, no, I don't say it like that. I can adapt very easily. I'm a quick thinker, and I got to be in the moment, and I got to be there, and that doesn't mean, like I said, there aren't certain moments where it's like, oh, that's so cool, but you don't have time to bask like that, or you're going to look like a fish out of water. So you got to, respond and be appropriate to the moment. You're there, you're an actor, you're nominated, you're there. So, you be there, so, it's cool though. Like it is cool. But, I remember at a convention about 6 years ago, I met Malcolm McDowell, and that was really cool. It was cool to talk to him. He's probably another favorite of mine. Of course, meeting Nick Castle was great too. I remember that was awesome, of course, meeting the OG Michael Myers. And Nick's a sweetheart of a guy. But Malcolm McDowell was a lot of fun to talk to because we chatted about, of course, you have to talk about Stanley Kubrick. So we chatted, of course, who doesn't talk about Stanley Kubrick when they meet Malcolm McDowell? But that was fun though too. So, it's fun, but I never get starstruck. I'm always sort of just in the moment. You know what I mean? It's just how I'm built. It's how I'm wired, I guess. Thanks for the question, Good Real. Sean Sheridan sends in a two euros and says, think The Thing is better than Halloween 78. Okay, so there's no question mark attached to that. So is this a statement? You think The Thing is better than Halloween 78? Well, a lot of people do. There's a lot of people that actually will have it as their favorite John Carpenter film. And then you'll usually see like The Thing, Halloween, whatever, right? So you're not alone in that. You're certainly not alone in that. Julian Salgado, right? Salgado, I think. $5 super chat says, what's up, Dave? So let's say they use a CGI Loomis in H Kills. They're not. Do they have to pay the family of Pleasance to use the face in their movie? Yeah. Generally speaking, yes. If the likeness is very much like them, yes, they would have to. Yes, they would. There would be regulations around that, and so there should be. I mean, look what happened to Crispin Glover. He got fucked over for that in Back to the Future 2. He's not in Back to the Future 2, by the way, contrary to popular belief. He really isn't. So no, not the way it is. Evil Alex says Harrison Ford, John Carpenter. No, I haven't met either of those. I have not met either of those. Kurt Russell, I've not met Kurt Russell. No. Oh, well, almost met Kurt Russell. I've told that story before because I was staying at the Roosevelt Hotel with my girlfriend and we were leaving for the Voice Arts Awards, the first year I was nominated. And as we're coming down the steps, Kurt Russell is coming down behind us chatting. And I'm like, that sounds like Kurt Russell. And sure enough, it was. And he was in a tuxedo decked to the nines going somewhere, not to the Voice Arts Awards. At least I didn't see him there. He got in a Suburban with his family to go somewhere else. And then we got into another car after him to go to the Voice Arts Awards. This is 2015. And that was cool. I don't know why he was at the... I don't think he wasn't staying there. He was there to meet somebody. But that was cool. So I kind of met Kurt Russell, but not really. I didn't meet him, but he was there in the same room. Kind of. It was fun, though. But Harrison Ford and John Carpenter, no, I've never met Harrison Ford and John Carpenter. That'd be cool. Darwin Smith says, hey Dave, love the channel. If you played in a Halloween movie, how would you want Michael to take you out? On-screen death for sure. Maybe like a classic like Bob moment, like maybe he picks me up, and pins me to the wall or strangles me or something, or I don't know, something like that. Maybe some like a classic. It would have to be, and the lead up to my death would have to be classic. He would have to emerge from the darkness. His mask would slowly appear behind me. Something that is classic OG Michael. It's gotta be. It's me. He's killing me. It's gotta be something like that. I can't go out in a lame, modern, cookie cutter, no suspense kind of way. Nope. No, Dave McRae ain't going out that way. I'm going out in a blaze of fucking OG Myers glory. That's how I would like to go out. Sean Sheridan says, do you think The Thing is better than Halloween? Well, Well, they're different movies. It's from a production value standpoint, yes. From an acting standpoint, absolutely. From a special effects standpoint, not that there's too many special effects in Halloween. Sure, of course, absolutely. From a story perspective, sure. But it's a different kind of movie. It costs way more than Halloween. So it had, it had better actors, more known actors at that time, of course. So, yes, it has a more polished production value, and it's a better movie in that sense, for sure. And it's got a great story to it. But they're two completely different movies. Comparing The Thing and Halloween, like comparing them is like apples and oranges. You can compare Halloween 2 and Halloween because it's a sequel to that movie, and it follows the same film with the same characters, and are they being true? What's different? What's not? But comparing The Thing to Halloween is it a better movie? Well, yeah, I guess. But define better, right? Like what is it? I always ask my viewers that you have to have a measuring stick. Is this better than that? Or is this more iconic than that? Is this, well, what are we measuring? There's many different ways to measure quality. There's many different ways to measure what something is legendary or iconic. So what is the measuring stick, right? Like I always use this as the example. I did a video about a year or so ago, my top 5, I think it was my top 5 most iconic horror houses. Now, by default, a Halloween, super fan would go, Myers house! And it's like, okay, but what's the measuring stick? Is it emotional attachment? Is it just what you love? Or can we look at it objectively? So I use the measuring, and there's many different ways to do this, but I used, in terms of what would be the most iconic horror house, my measuring stick, it was what is likely to be the most recognizable house to the average person on the street. So you take the Myers house, the Amityville house, the Elm Street house, the Psycho house, whatever, the Texas Chainsaw house, and you go out onto the street to the average individual and you show them a photograph of that house. You don't say anything about it. You just say, what is this a photo of? And I came to the conclusion that I think there is a high probability that the most recognizable house would probably be the Psycho house to the average person on the street. Sure, a horror nut job would know the Elm Street house like the back of their hand, right? And a horror craze enthusiast Myers fan would know the Myers house like that. But I could go to my neighbor and show him a picture of the Myers house, and he probably wouldn't know what the fuck it was. I don't know, some nice little house. I show him the Psycho house is so iconic in pop culture, right? In a general sense. And there's a variety of reasons for that. Now, is that the only way to measure the iconic status of a house? No, it's not. But that's an example of, I like to do my best to remove the subjective emotional attachment to something out of the equation and try to look at things as objectively as possible. And that's one way to do it. Is what is likely the most recognizable to the average non-horror fan. So when you say, what is the better movie? Well, what's the measuring stick? Production value? It's The Thing. Actors? It's The Thing. Quality? It's The Thing. For sure. If that's what we're measuring, what better is, right? But what resonates with people in relation to their own genres, one's more of a sci-fi horror, one's a slasher. It's difficult to measure those. They're apples and oranges. Julian Salgado sends a $2 super chat, says, can we please get that Friday the 13th bark? There you go, man. There you go. It was so funny. And I had a bunch of messages afterwards from people saying, well, Dave, it's because of this. It's because of this. And I should have explained myself a bit better in that video. Yes, I'm very aware of why he's doing it. Cat hair on my mic. Very aware of why he's doing it. But it's just funny to me because it comes out of nowhere. And I get it. His name's Luke. I get it's a gang. I get what he's doing, but it's not very stealthy. And when the girl was just there, like literally 10 seconds ago, so she's probably 20 feet away, he can't just go like, if he lets out obviously I'm thinking too deeply about this, right? I get it. It's cheesy 80s shit, but I couldn't stop laughing. Friday the 13th Part 3, this, the biker guy, "Rah!" It's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, there's no way she would not have heard that. Even if she was 50 feet away, she would have heard that. 100%. She would have turned around and like, what the fuck's going on over there? And it's just funny. This gigantic bark is so unnecessary and completely unstealthy because they're trying to be stealthy. That's what they're doing. They're secretly, they don't want to draw attention to themselves. Well, is definitely going to draw attention to yourself. I'm just saying. Funny shit, man. It's funny shit. Let's see. The hero with no fear says, talking about Psycho, have you watched Bates Motel, Dave? I have not, hero. I have not watched it. Not gotten around to watching it. Let me see here. What do we got? To make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I don't believe I did. That's good. ACDC 113089 says, hey, Dave, can't wait for the It's Me, Billy trailer to drop. That's right. 1 week today, ladies and germs. 1 week today, the official trailer for It's Me, Billy is going to drop. And again, just to reiterate, I've had a few people worried that we're going to show too much. Don't worry, we're not going to show you everything. We're not going to show too much. You are going to see a little bit more than you saw in the teaser. That's how these things go. Teaser, we tease you. Official trailer, we show you a bit more. But you guys know me. We have constructed it and edited it and designed it in a way where we're not showing you very much. It's going to feel like you're seeing more because you are, but it's not going to feel like you've seen the whole film. Especially when you watch the movie, you'll realize, oh wow, they didn't really show anything. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's not in the trailer. We've played it close to the vest, but we wanted to release another one, and we wanted to show you a little bit more to whet that appetite. And yes, the trailer may contain a release date. Just saying. Woo! It's coming. There's been so much hard work going on behind the scenes. Rick Baker, my man, Rick Baker says, hi, Dave. How do studios make money releasing films like the Snyder Cut to HBO Max? Do you think that's a straight cash deal, or is there an industry matrix that allows for revenue sharing? Great question, Rick. Well, how do I say this? Well, the revenue first of all, we have to know that, or we have to understand that obviously the more people that sign up to HBO Max, the better. And obviously they are using the Snyder Cut as bait to get people to sign up. And it's working, 100%. I mean, they're probably going to make quite a few, $1 million from this. Also advertising as well. So now they have to spend money to advertise, but advertising as well. And it would depend on, I don't know if its long-term deal is going to be HBO Max, if they're going to release that on Blu-ray and 4K. That's something that they may do as well. They may release it on physical media as well. So that's something to take into consideration. There's a number of areas on how they would make their money back for that. Now we have to remember too that as far as I know, I don't know, I'd have to look into it deeper. I don't know if Snyder's taking a cut for this, if he was paid to do this. I know the rumor is that they spent $70 million to make this cut happen. That's nothing to sneeze at. You can make 70 million or 70 million. You can make 70 movies for that. Just take $1 million each and make 70 movies. So certainly there is a lot that's nothing to sneeze at, and they're going to want to recoup that. But it could be over time. Like when you have, when you have something that's streaming on HBO Max, it's there presumably forever. It's not going to go away. So you can use that also as a catalyst 6 months from now. Like you're going to get a big windfall, but there are people that may not want to sign up now that are also going to sign up as well. And of course, signing up for Crave as well here in Canada. I'm sure a cut probably goes to to Warner as well, although I don't know. It's a good question. I don't profess to know the ins and outs on that specifically. Each streaming service is a bit different, but certainly a big part of their revenue will come for people signing up. And I mean, the millions and millions of dollars that Netflix makes is insane from people signing up. And I know HBO Max needed this. And if you didn't have HBO, I mean, everybody who did not have HBO Max before the Snyder Cut, who will now see the Snyder Cut, will have HBO Max, you know. And I don't know how much it is a month to people. How much is HBO Max a month? What, like $9, $7, $6? I'm not really sure. But certainly it's, you know. But it's also important to remember too that this 4-hour epic is not what you would have seen in theaters. So there are people out there that are saying it's too bad Zack Snyder didn't get a chance to finish his vision. Well, that's true. But you would have not have seen this movie in the theater. It still would have been cut down. Now, would it have been better than the one that was released? Yes, probably. But it wouldn't have necessarily been the one that you just saw on HBO Max. You don't, especially in this day and age, this isn't the 60s where you can release Ben-Hur in a theater and it's the only movie playing all fucking day. To release a 4-hour movie, you know, you're potentially a 4-hour theatrical film. You're potentially making less money than you would because there's only so many times it can play during a day, you know, so you got to take that into consideration as well. And then do you have an intermission or not? You know, people sit there for 4 hours. Are people going to sit there for 4 hours? Or do you know, there's a whole thing around it. And so you would have likely have seen maybe a 3-hour cut in theaters, but even studios don't generally, that's why you don't see a lot of 3-hour films. Generally speaking, they don't like to release 3-hour films for the same reasons. The sweet spot is, you know, 2.5. So that's something you have to take into consideration, you know, is that the streaming option is more viable. It is allowing this kind of thing to exist. The question is, will you see more of it? Because we all know how the Snyder Cut ends, right? We all know how it ends. So the question then becomes, will you see more of it? That's the question. And at the end of the day, if Warner Brothers thinks they can exploit you, like I've been saying on this channel for the whole year, of the real reason why they did this is because they can exploit you for millions of dollars. If they think they can make a buck off you, they'll do it. They'll do it. They don't care what you want. Studios don't care what you want. They care about if what you want can make them money. And not all the time. And that's not always the case. That's not always the case. There's a lot of things fans want that won't necessarily bring in the big bucks. Lots of stuff. So they have to make sure that it can make money. And not just money. Money. Because this is the level we're working with here, right? Not just millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. So that's a big difference. So yeah, Rick, I mean, there's a variety of ways, but one of the big ways, of course, and what they're relying on, and all streaming services rely on, is that subscription fee. And they are hoping that that's why they're using it as this, hey, ho, HBO Max. And that's why it's exclusive to HBO Max, obviously, right? And not just something they release on like PVOD. Because they want those they want the subscriptions. Darren Sand says, I hate to say this, but I really liked the Snyder Cut. He hates to say it. Darren hates to say it. I haven't seen it. I mean, maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I will. But I don't have Crave, so I have no way of seeing it. Unless I get Crave. And I don't really want to get Crave.
Sign up for Crave. Sign up, Dave. Come on, man. Sign up for Crave, man.
Real reveal. I haven't seen it yet. It's 4 hours long. I might have to pause a few times. Well, if you gotta take a shit or a piss, you might have to or get something to eat. Maybe you want to get something to eat. I don't know. Jonathan Ball says Plex is the same cult of the digital world. No idea what you're talking about there. But HBO Max is $14.99. Okay, well, there you go. There you go. HBO Max is $14.99. $14.99. Now, that's US, right? Because I assume, Nathan, you live in the States. Most of my viewers do. Over 70% do. So I assume that is US. So that's, if we did get HBO Max here in Canada, that would be probably like closer to 16, 17 bucks. So you think of that. I will be very curious to know how many people have signed up to HBO Max to watch the Snyder Cut, and then you times that by $14.99. Now, obviously, there's overhead, and you got to pay people, and you got to, there's gross income and there's net income. We have to remember that. But still, $14.99 times whatever, and it'll be interesting to see how many people signed up for it. Christian 1985 says, "Hey Dave, have you watched Coming to America 2 yet?" No, I have not seen Coming to America 2 yet. It is on the list. My girlfriend and I want to watch it. We're going to do it. We're definitely going to, because that's a movie I definitely want to see. David Coe sends in a $9.99 super chat and says, "I walked out of H18 disappointed, but I wonder if the closet scene, as well as the Oscar backyard scene, hadn't been ruined in marketing, I would have liked it more." I don't know. I mean, for me, I don't think that would have happened. Again, to beat a dead horse, I'll say that I didn't hate Halloween 18. I mean, hate's a strong word. I mean, it's a good modern day slasher film, right? I just wish that I had seen more. It felt more Halloween to me. I think it was largely a film of missed opportunities and void of a lot of suspense. So it's not a bad movie. I'm not trying to. It's not a bad movie at all. I just think that there could. You just. And I'm not talking about. As I've said many times, don't misinterpret me. I'm not talking about servicing 40-year-old fanboy expectations. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about things that should have carried over, continuity things that make sense when we're talking about it being a sequel to the... Anyway, you've heard me talk about that ad nauseum. So I don't think it's a bad movie at all. But there's certain things I wanted to see. I don't think had the closet scene not been ruined in the marketing, I don't think it would have changed for me. Had the closet scene been executed differently, it might have changed a few things for me. If the closet scene had been more suspenseful, if the closet scene had revealed Michael better, in my opinion, right? Like, how I always say, imagine if Julian says to Vicky, instead of go to the closet to turn out the light, why don't you go to the closet to turn on the light? Because a lot of kids like having, a closet light on, whatever, right? So she goes to the closet not to turn out the light, but to turn on the light. And when she opens the door, she flicks on the light and there he is. Or even better, like I've said before, she opens the door and she goes to turn on the light and the light doesn't turn on because the bulb's burnt out. So she turns around with her back facing the closet now and speaks to Julian and says, "Do your parents have a light bulb somewhere? I think it's burnt out, babe." You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, as she's speaking and saying this, Michael's mask slowly emerges. I know it's such a Dave McRae thing. Slowly emerges from the darkness behind Vicky. That's what Michael does. That's his MO. That's in line with his character. That's very, that's what he does, right? And depending on how you played with that scene, and if you executed it that way and really built up the suspense of it, there was nothing suspenseful about that scene. "Can you go turn on the closet light or turn off the closet light?" "Sure, babe, no problem." Well, you know what's going to happen. I mean, you know what's going to happen because it was ruined in the marketing, but she just opens the door and there he is. So it's a jump scare, but it's not very suspenseful. There's nothing really suspenseful about that scene, right? And that, for me, there's a lot of great moments in Halloween 18 that are cool moments, but they don't have really any suspense that's leading up to them. I mean, Laurie walking around her house with a shotgun and kind of like, where is he? That was good. That's probably the most suspenseful scene in the movie. And of course, the characters that, the bus crash scene, right? There's some suspense there. But in large part, there were missed opportunities. So I still think I personally would have felt the same way because the execution is the same. You know what I mean? For me, they would have had to been executed differently to change my mind on that. But maybe you're different. Maybe you're different. And you may be right. You may be right. You may be right. As Donald Pleasance would say. Darwin Smith says, I swear I'll watch the shit show Halloween 5 for last before 2018. It could have been so better. I'd probably watch H18 over H5. That movie is just abysmal to me. I can't, it's just so bad. Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, what's your favorite film score? Halloween 78 or Halloween 281? The original. I got to go OG. But I certainly do love the Halloween 2 score. I love what Alan Howarth did, mixing and matching it and bringing a little more of a synth 80s vibe to it. So certainly I do like that. Juan Rivera says, Dave, your thoughts on sequels being made for movies that are over 20 years old. I know it's all about money, but I feel like it taints the first movie, i.e. Coming to America 2, Borat 2, Dumb and Dumber 2. There's a Borat 2? Oh yeah, I think there is. Well, look, I mean, yeah, the novelty's worn off. I think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think one of the, sorry, I got frog in my throat there. Rabbit. One of the reasons why comedy doesn't work years later, especially when it's dumb comedy, and I've said it before, but I got to say it again because I think this is a good point. Especially when you're dealing with somebody like Dumb and Dumber. People get to a certain age where, and it sucks because I like being theatrical and funny too. Thank God I'm only 41. But when I get to 60, I don't know if it's going to look weird. I mean, maybe not in this context, right? Ranting and raving about movies. Anyways, the point I'm making is that when you're in your 30s or your 20s and you're being silly and it's slapstick humor, it's funny. But when you're in your 50s or your 60s and you try to do that, it just looks sad. Like you now look like an old man, not an old man. I don't mean it literally, but you look like an older man now, and it's no longer funny. It's just kind of sad. That's why Rowan Atkinson has said famously, I don't know if I'll ever play Bean again, because in my 30s and my early 40s, it was funny. It was charming. It was cute. You know what I mean? There was a cuteness to it because he's just a guy. He's just a guy. But Rowan Atkinson is in his 60s now. How old is he anyway? Is he close to 70? Hey, Google, how old is Rowan Atkinson?
66 years old.
He's 66, right? So he's knocking on 70's door. And, it gets to a point where it's like, he just looks like an old man now that's escaped from the mental institution or, the old age home. Who's like, it's no longer sweet. It's kind of sad. And so you get that a lot with a lot of the slapsticky comedies from years ago that they try to recreate the magic, years later when they're in their 50s. It kind of looks weird. It's not like, because it's kind of like, it just looks weird. There's that part to it. The other part is that a lot of the novelty's worn off. It's not as funny. Been there, done that. You're just sort of recycling the same stuff, but now you're older and it looks more sadder. You know what I mean? Now, with the non-slapsticky stuff, like with Coming to America, that's not a slapstick film. I think one of the things, now I haven't seen it yet, but one of the things that I'm hearing, the general consensus is, and I'm hearing from Coming to America too, is that it's sweet, it's charming, it's nostalgic, going down that memory lane. So if you're, guys like our age, you'll like it because you grew up. I loved Coming to America, the original. Loved it. You go down that nostalgic memory lane and it's fun. It's serviceable, right? It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just like, well, that was sweet. Like a little family reunion. That was fun. The problem with a movie like Coming to America too is that it's PG-13 and not R. And it's not like there were F-bombs and boobies every 5 seconds in the original Coming to America. But I've heard that Coming to America 2 feels a little safe. Feels just a little safe. You want them to go there and they can't. And with a movie like Coming to America 2, especially with an actor like Eddie Murphy in that role, I don't even know how you'd even do like a Beverly Hills Cop today. Most of his movies had F-bombs. You couldn't do like a 48 Hours today. It's just, you can, but I'm just saying you would have to go there. And we're living in a society now where people are getting their knickers in a twist over certain things. And, it can become problematic. So there's that part of it too, especially when doing a sequel to a movie like Coming to America. So again, I haven't seen it. I'll be the judge of it myself, but I'm getting a general consensus of, yeah, it was fine. It was fun. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the Coming to America we know, because obviously there's certain things they had to play safe, right? They had to walk that line. So, yeah. Do I think it's a wise idea to do sequels to movies 20 years later, 25? No, because the probability is always low that you're going to have a big hit. That it's going to be like, wow, because you can't recapture the magic. If you want to do very rarely are sequels to movies good. I know there are good sequels, of course there are good sequels, and there are examples of sequels that sometimes are better than the original, right? We have seen examples of that. But generally speaking, right? Generally speaking, in the vastness of movies, most sequels are not as good as the originals. So you're already behind the 8 ball doing a sequel anyway, whether it comes out 20 years later or 2 years later. You're already against the 8 ball. So to do one 20 years later, when the novelty's worn off, with so many things going against you, it can be tricky. It can be very, very tricky. So, no, I always like going down memory. And that's sort of what I felt Halloween was, 18. It was like, it was this nice trip down memory lane. It was nostalgic. It was like going to a reunion. And then when it's done, I'm like, okay, I couldn't have cared less if they ever made another Halloween movie. If Blumhouse decided not to make another, I know it's got that awkward sort of abrupt ending where you pan down and she's got that. I know what it means. I get the symbolism of it. But I remember when I saw it at the premiere, I remember thinking, oh, that's it. It's over. Oh, okay. It felt kind of maybe like you needed like an extra 5 minutes to kind of decompress, But nonetheless, it ended there. But I could not have cared less if they never made another one. I didn't like it enough. I didn't think it was I didn't, oh my God, nope. Couldn't have cared less. So it was just a nice trip down. And that's not me saying I couldn't have cared less because it's a shitty movie. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's years later. It's a sequel to the original. There's a lot of nostalgia. We're going down memory lane. That was a fun reunion. Okay, I'm done. On with my life. Great. And when you do movies that are sequels so many years later, they almost become tribute films because they're sequels that are so far removed from the original that the sequel themselves becomes almost self-aware of what it is. And it becomes almost a tribute. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I agree. I agree, though. I don't think, and I actually didn't mind Dumb and Dumber 2. I didn't think it was great. But I didn't think it was as bad as I thought it was going to be. But it was still weird to see these guys with wrinkles acting this way. It's just kind of like, guys, it becomes even more gross for some reason. You know what I mean? Anyway, great question, though. Great question. Darren Sand says, you've nailed it, Dave. I have. Amazing. The PG-13 didn't bother me too much. Great Saturday night viewing. You won't belly laugh, but you'll smile throughout. Yeah, and that's what I expect, right? My girlfriend and I are big fans of the original. I mean, what Eddie Murphy movie from the 80s is not great? You know what I mean? 48 Hours, another 48. Well, there's a few in there that are not that great. But his classics, right? 48 Hours, another 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop. I even like the Ridley Scott Beverly Hills Cop 2, which I think is pretty darn good. Not as good as the first one, but pretty good. Golden Child, which is kind of that black sheep. It's not a great movie, but I like it. I think it's fun. It's a guilty pleasure. Coming to America. I mean, there were so many great classics from Eddie Murphy, but that's what I'm kind of feeling. Like it's going to be like, oh, that was fun. That was a nice, softer, a softer side to Coming to America, but, fun nonetheless. And that's what I'm expecting. So I'll probably enjoy it because that's what I'm expecting. And based from what Darren said, that he thinks that's pretty much what it was. So all right. Maybe we'll watch it this weekend. Let's see here. Moshi, is it Moshi or Moshi? €5. Thank you very much, buddy. Says, I think Halloween Resurrection had potential. The basic idea with the internet and the cameras in the house was good. It was just 10 years too early. I think it had potential as a non-Halloween movie. I think the problem with Halloween Resurrection as a Halloween movie is that it's the first time in the original run now, okay? We're talking about the original run, pre-Rob Zombie films. It was the first time that a Halloween movie had nothing to do with the anchor of the story. Now, obviously, the original Halloween, you guys know this, I gotta say this, was supposed to be a one-off movie. Laurie was not his sister. There was no connection. It was a standalone. But of course, they made a sequel and they brought that in, all that, right? So Halloween Resurrection was the first time that it had nothing to do with any sort of sister lineage arc, right? Two, I mean, I know there's 3, but I'm just saying in terms of Michael Myers, right? 2 had something to do with it. 4, 5, 6, H2O, even though they wiped away 4, 5, and 6, H2O now is direct equal to 2, and there's still that connection. And Resurrection gets rid of that at the beginning. Laurie's killed. So the rest of the movie feels strange. We're introduced to characters that are brand new, who I have no emotional attachment to whatsoever. I don't care how easy on the eyes the girls are. I don't care about them. You know what I mean? And then the whole thing takes place in the Myers house, and you got Buster Rhymes in there, who's like a cartoon version of himself. And it's not a good movie. The idea of, and it's also gimmicky as well, right? Because, you're dating yourself when you use that type of tech. When that becomes the anchor to your film, you immediately date yourself because of technology. You know what I mean? Like kids today that are like, 15 watching Halloween Resurrection, who have grown up in the social media age with pocket computers in their pockets, would laugh at Resurrection and go, this just looks silly, But at that time, it was state of the art. That was the technology, right? It was too gimmicky, and it became too reliant on that. I mean, it's a cool idea, and we've since seen that kind of thing in horror movies that don't have anything to do with Halloween. I don't think it belongs in a Halloween movie. It's too gimmicky, too shticky. I just don't think it does. But I get it. That's what you did. They were buying into what was hot at that time. That's why you get like pop culture-y lines like, "You're this close to getting voted off the island." I mean, a kid today wouldn't know what the fuck that means. You're this close to getting voted off the island. What the hell does that mean? In 2002, we knew exactly what that was because Survivor was into it's only its 2nd or 3rd season. I remember in the summer of 2000, I was working for a radio station and I was doing the morning show. I wasn't on air. I was helping to produce it. Well, sometimes I was on air. And Survivor was huge in the summer of 2000. That was the first time that Survivor was like a reality. It changed reality shows forever. Reality shows. And I use that in quotes. And I remember we actually, for an entire week, they set up near this lake, and we did the morning show on location from this lake. And they had like the community they were like camping out by this lake, and it was like a mini Survivor thing where they had to do like stuff to survive. Obviously it's all fun and games, but anyway, we were covering it, and we were there every morning. I was there. I'll never forget it. And it was a big deal, and that was the summer of the year 2000. That was in between my 1st and 2nd year of college. And my dad helped me get the job at the radio station. So thank you, Dad in heaven. But I remember, of course, Resurrection came out 2 years later. So it's very reliant on pop culture, on what's hot and current at that time. And I get it. Like I get what they're doing. They're trying to relate and stuff. But you date yourself, and it wasn't a very good movie anyway. the best horror movies, the best movies, but the best horror movies are timeless in their themes and narrative. Yes, their production value may be dated. Yes, the quality may look old, but their themes and the narrative is timeless. And that's why a lot of old horror movies are still great today, because they're not reliant on shticky, gimmicky things that really date themselves. So, and that doesn't mean that there aren't shticky, gimmicky things like Host or Searching or, Unfriended that are fine, right? But it will be interesting to see if they have the longevity moving forward. That's still up in the air. That jury is still out for debate. But yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Let me see here. What do we got? We got 15 more minutes. 15 more minutes, ladies and germs. Nick. Hello, Nick. Sends in a $10 super chat. Thank you, Nick. Says, Dave, you said that you love the Hollywood scene. I love the Hollywood scene? I said that, and its era. Plus, you love your suspense unbearable. Have you seen 1992's Hitchcockian Oscar-nominated 65 A-list star-studded murder mystery? Nominated 65, The Player. No, I've not seen The Player, but I know the movie you're talking about. But I have not seen it. I will definitely check it out. But I do know the movie you're talking about, though. The Player. But I haven't seen it. Nick follows up with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Nick. It says, Dave, I'd recently taken a picture of myself in front of Neil Page's house. Always wanted to love planes, trades, and automobiles. Took it from the street, showed respect. Amazing. Neil Page. That must have been in Chicago. Maybe you're well, it is in Chicago. The house is in Chicago. John Hughes shot a lot of his movies there. He loved it. Now, funny enough, contrary to popular belief, and I used to think this too, because they look similar at first glance if you're not paying attention. The house at the end of Planes, Trades, and Automobiles is not the Home Alone house. Now, they're both in Chicago, but they're not the same house. They look similar, but if you were to bring them up side by side, they are not the same house. For years, I thought the Home Alone house and the Planes, Trades, and Automobile house was the same house. And up until just like a few years ago, I thought this. And I'm like, oh, it's not the same house. So maybe I taught you something today, because I think a lot of people thought that, but it's not the same house. That's pretty cool. Bad Diggity Dizzle says, Dave, have you ever seen a Bigfoot in Canada? Have I ever seen a Bigfoot in Canada? No, but that's probably because I don't venture off into the rural areas too often. Being here in Toronto, of course, we're in a metropolitan city, so you don't see too many Bigfoot roaming the streets of Toronto. But I'd have to. I never have. No, I've never seen a Bigfoot here. Troy Grubb says, Halloween Resurrection feels like after the beginning of the movie didn't know what to do with Michael's character. What has the most rewarding part of being a voice? Oh, these are two questions in one. Sure, I could see how you could see that with Halloween Resurrection. And then what is the most rewarding part of being a voice actor for you, Dave? The most rewarding part? I think the most rewarding part of being the most rewarding part of being a voice actor for me is getting to flex my creative muscles in that regard. Anybody who is an actor or a performer or is artistic will tell you that they need to do this. They have to. If they don't act, if they don't do stand-up comedy, if they don't make a movie, if they don't write, if they don't paint, if they don't, whatever it is, whatever your artistic endeavor is, whatever your passion is, whatever it is you were built and put on this planet to do, if you don't do it, or if somebody or if something is preventing you from doing it, you become a miserable piece of shit. It's part of you. It's in your DNA. You have to do it. And you become miserable and depressed when you can't do it. So the most rewarding part for me, I think, is just the feeling of accomplishment and being able to flex those creative muscles, whether it's through filmmaking, whether it's through doing this YouTube channel, whether it's through voice acting. But of course, you asked specifically about voice acting, but I wanted to first say that because that's a very important point. It's so true. Now, specifically to voice acting, I think it's just, it depends on what I'm doing. There's many different genres to voiceover. There's radio and television commercials, network promos, movie and game trailers, animation, narration, IVR prompts, e-learning, training, corporate. I mean, there's a lot of different genres. But certainly, I think whenever I get to do animation, it's always fun. To be able to flex that creative side and to perform and to bring life to characters, to bring color to the character and to the character's personality and to give the character agency and to I mean, obviously you have to follow what's on the script, but a good director will also allow you to add the little nuances and idiosyncrasies that bring the character to life, right? So if a script says something like, "Hey, Bob, come over here. I need to talk to you." That's what the script says. "Hey, Bob, come over here. I need to talk to you," right? If it's a character I'm bringing to life, I might be like,
Hey, Bob, come over here. I need to talk to you.
now those little aren't in the script, right? That's what an actor does to help bring it to life, right? Those are the nuances and the things that you do to give a character its color, its personality, right? So those things I'm really passionate about, and those things I love doing. I love bringing characters to life. I haven't done an enormous amount of animation in my life. My bread and butter. I'm doing a lot more animation now. Actually, there's a few things that I've done that I can't show you yet because they're not out yet. It takes a while for animation to get made. But there's a few things that I've done over the last several months that I'm really happy with, that I can't wait to show you guys. But so I'm doing more animation now, which is great. Jude Foster, by the way, over at Foster Talent, my animation agent. You're amazing. And funny enough, myself, and I didn't know this, myself and Lynn Griffin, who played Claire in Black Christmas, we both have the same voiceover agent, which is hilarious. I didn't know that she was with Jude as well. It's hilarious. It's a small world. The acting community can be a small world. But anyway, I thought that was kind of cool. So, but that is rewarding to me, bringing characters to life. I love doing that. And I love doing more animation because for years, like I said, I spent most of my career in the commercial, promo, and trailer side, which is great. That's a lot of fun too, and that's amazing. And I continue to do that. But I would say that's the most rewarding, is bringing characters to life. And even if it's on the commercial side, I'm playing whatever I'm playing. I'm always playing some fictional, at the very least, some fictional version of myself. I'm not Dave McRae telling you to go pick up Diet Coke. You know what I mean? So whatever I'm doing, it's always bringing that character to life. Is always I think the most rewarding, and then in general being able to flex those creative muscles. Hopefully that answered your question. That was a good question. Good question. All right, what do we got here? We got, how much time do we have left? We got, 7 more minutes to go. 7 more minutes to go, ladies and germs. Evil Alex says, John Candy would have been awesome to meet. A legend died too early. Did your father meet him? Yes, my father met him, and my brother Neil met him as well. My father met a lot of people. Like I've often said, on my back wall here, I have a photo of my dad with the Beatles, my dad with Robert Kennedy, my dad with Diefenbaker, who was the Prime Minister of Canada in the 60s, my dad with Burton Cummings of the Guess Who, and I got a great photo of both my parents, my mom and my dad here. It looks like they're on some cruise, but I think it's but anyway, they're with Liberace. And Liberace has a lei around his neck, and it looks like they're on a cruise. I don't think they are, though. I don't know where they are. But the date on the photo, it says, to my pal Earl, Liberace. It's fucking wild. It says, my dad's name was Earl. It says 1977. So I guess that's 77. But my dad did meet John Candy because John Candy in the early 90s was co-owner of the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And he loved football. And John Candy was born here in Toronto, and he loved the Toronto Argonauts. So for a few years, John Candy, from maybe 90 to 93 or something, I don't know, somewhere in there, he was co-owner of the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And my dad, working in sports at that time, met him. There's a picture. I'm pretty sure I posted it somewhere. On social media. I don't know how long ago, but I'm pretty sure I did. There's a picture of my dad and John Candy, for sure. And then there's a picture on the other side of this wall over here. I'll have to get it for you. There's a picture of John Candy and my brother. But I never got a chance to meet him. No, I would have loved to have met John Candy. By all accounts, anything I've ever heard by anybody who's ever met him, he's sweet and charming and humble and gracious and so nice. And he's the kind of guy that if he's your hero, he's not going to disappoint you, if you know what I mean. So it's too bad he's gone. And he died so young. He was only like 43 or 44. You know, he's only a couple years older than me. So sad. I often wonder what kind of movies he would have done today. You know what I mean? Would have been cool. David Coe sends in a super chat and says, so how do you feel about WandaVision? Joke. Yeah, I still haven't seen it. What's your favorite scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? I love the car rental scene. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Wipe that fucking rosy red or fucking smile off your rosy fucking cheeks. Yeah, I love that. It's great. Yeah, that movie could never be PG-13. There's so many good ones. I mean, where's your hand between two pillows? Those aren't pillows. I mean, that's fucking amazing. The car scene, where they're driving on the other side of the road, and they go through the two trucks. I love I love when he picks up his underwear and, he puts it on his face. He's like, oh my God. There's so many amazing scenes in that movie. So many amazing scenes. So many amazing. Like even at the beginning too, when he's like, what does he say? He's like, and the plane, like when they're sitting beside each other and he's like, Del Griffith, American Light and Fixture, shower curtain ring. No, shower curtain ring division. He's a shower curtain ring salesman. It's such great writing. It's so absurd. A shower curtain ring division, and he opens up his wallet and he's got these little mini shower curtain rings. It's just so funny, man. It's so funny. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. That and the original Vacation from 1983 are one of my favorite comedies of all time. And you know what? I love the ending of that movie too. Planes, Trains. The John Candy could dish out an incredible dramatic acting performance if he wanted to. A lot of comedians can if they're given the opportunity and the chance. It's much easier to go drama from comedy than it is to go comedy from drama. And that at the end of that movie, it still gets me to this day. It's like, oh my God, he's homeless. Such a great film with a great emotional hook at the end. So it's not just a funny movie. It's got some heart. One of my favorite comedies of all time. Hands down, hands down, hands down. What do we got going on here? Chester Franklin Jr. says, Dave, once again, congrats on It's Me, Billy. Thank you, Chester. Appreciate that. Trailer drops next Monday. Next Monday. Not Monday. Next Friday, Friday, March the 26th. The official trailer is dropping. Oh, yeah. Evil Alex says the Naked Gun films are also funny classics. 100%. I absolutely agree. The Naked Gun films are definitely some of my favorite comedies of all time. 100%. I love that. Sorry. I'm just like, I can't believe he's gone. Leslie Nielsen, another Canadian, by the way. We Canadians dish out some pretty good talent, if I do say so myself. Fucking funny, man. Oh my God, I love that movie. Love that. I love all of them. I think the first one is still the best. The third one, but they're all fucking funny. They're all funny. They're all silly, absurd. Because it's Leslie Nielsen. It's his straight delivery in the against the backdrop of the absurd. It's just so great. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It's so good. So good. It's so good. What do we see here? We got 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any super chats. I don't think I did. My moderators have not informed me I did not. Okay, good. I like knowing that I have not. I'm looking forward to having some lunch after this. I haven't had lunch yet today, and I had breakfast very early this morning, so I'm feeling kind of hungry. And when you do shows like this and you're constantly talking and exerting energy and burning calories, you definitely can get hungry after a show. What do we got? Just looking for somebody I've not seen before. Johnny Melancholy says, hey Dave, looking forward to the trailer on the 26th. Yes, I'm assuming it will be early April. We get to watch. It's me, Billy, you and crew. I don't know yet. Not sure yet. The film is still in post-production. It is still being color graded as we speak. But don't worry, we will inform you guys of when that will be. We will inform you guys when that will be. We are working hard. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me here on episode 153 of McRae Live. Thank you to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Shore, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber for doing what you guys do. I really appreciate it. Amazing. And thank you to all the super chat questions that came in today, the non-super chat questions that came in today as well. Thank you very much for those. And have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. And of course, I'll be back Monday night, unless something changes, of course. There's always that chance. But Monday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Make sure you tune in to that. Tony and I will be watching Godzilla, King of the Monsters, in our lead up to the release of Kong versus Godzilla. So have a great weekend, folks. Thank you again. You guys are amazing, but you know you are amazing. I'm not telling anything you don't already know. Alrighty. In the meantime and in between time, cheers.